Greetings. Welcome to a new episode of Art Matters. I'm Wayne Quackenbush, your host, and I'm also the CEO of the Portsmouth Arts Guild and have a little space in Newport, Rhode Island, where I show artwork. Today we have two very special guests. Both of them are major inspirations to me in different ways. And our first guest today is Sandy DeLuca. She's our first author slash artist. She's a painter, an illustrator, a poet, a novelist. She's had 10 or so novels published, and really pleased to have you here. Sandy, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your history, because you have a 20-year writing career, but it kind of goes back further than that. How did you get inspired when you were younger?
When I was a little girl, my dad would take me to the movies every weekend, and my dad loved horror movies, and he loved Hitchcock and a lot of the old classics, so that inspired me.
Mm-hmm.
Then I remember, I'm aging myself now, watching The Twilight Zone as a child with my mom.
Yeah.
So that also inspired me. So I've always been into the dark, horror, fantasy.
So would you characterize yourself as a horror writer?
No, I'd say dark fiction.
Dark fiction.
Because it's not all horror. Some of it is crime.
Yep.
Some of it's dark fantasy.
I know you've been in some noir anthologies.
Yes.
And you've done a number of books. And you also illustrate your own books.
Some of them, yes.
If you can maybe start with, I know you wanted to show how the disciplines kind of cross over. Okay. We were talking about how writing and painting can kind of go hand in hand and inspire each other. They almost ladder each other up sometimes, in my experience.
Yes, they do.
So you have a book there that you wanted to talk about.
Okay, this is one of my newer novels.
No, that's got to be facing that way and perpendicular so Michael can zero in on it. And that's a new novel called Switchblade, and you wanted to talk about the crow on the cover, right?
Right. Poe's raven plays a huge part in the novel.
Okay.
And it's actually a zombie novel. I always remember we spoke about that. I always wanted to write a zombie novel.
Yes, that's right. Back when we were talking about zombies, yes.
And the raven keeps showing up to the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a surreal thing. But I write very slow.
Okay.
And paint very fast.
Yes.
So in between, I did.
Now you can put the
I did a series of paintings with ravens in them.
Right. We were talking about the woman's face and how
like
she
Marilyn.
might have started out as a Marilyn, and then she kind of evolved from there. And then you have that unique color sense where you're working with complements here with the oranges and the blue. So as the raven was traveling through the novel, then you also he kind of came out in your paintings for a while too. So you must have a series of those.
Yes, I did a whole. I'm actually still working on it.
That's a work in progress. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, put that down and.
Another one. This one's a little earlier. I did this one a few years ago.
Oh right, yes. And again, the red hair and the black.
But I worked on them together. Even though the series is still going on, a lot of the paintings were done while I was writing this novel. So.
Okay. So the Raven painting series is continuing.
Yes.
Yes. Now you have a unique. You had a unique gateway to becoming an author. You said that in the late 80s you were very inspired by professional wrestling.
Yes.
and you did some writing, some nonfiction, and then some. I guess we decided it was kind of a fan fiction about the wrestlers.
Yeah, because I would interview female wrestlers. I'd like to promote the lady wrestlers
Yeah.
because at that time women were kind of not as prominent as men. So
Right.
any chance I got, I'd go back and interview them.
Yeah.
And Killer Kowalski had a whole group of them that he had trained.
Okay.
So that
Now,
was.
was Killer Kowalski local? Did you?
Yeah, he was from Waltham, Mass.
Oh, wow.
He passed a few years ago,
Yeah.
and he had a wrestling school.
Oh, right.
And he actually invited me to go to his school to see how the guys work. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, I've known some amateur female and male wrestlers, and they tend to not stick with it because you end up getting hurt a lot.
I know one female wrestler who I traveled to shows with back in the 80s.
Mhm.
Her name is Sandy Starr. She's from Fall River. She's still at it.
Wow, really? Wow.
She's in her 60s now. So.
Yeah, it's a acrobatic entertainment sport altogether, and you definitely promote the female in your art, because I know you do a lot of women characters, and you were telling me a
Yes.
story about Star Trek fanzine that you worked on, the Klingon.
The Klingon Journal of Language.
Uh-huh.
I loved Star Trek, and I loved the Klingons because they were so different
Right, of course.
from everyone else. And I
Well-
subscribed to the Klingon Journal of
Yep.
Language, and I noticed every month, I don't remember if it came out monthly or quarterly.
Quarterly.
There was always an illustration of a male Klingon. So I said, why don't I do a female? So in those days, there was no scanning or anything digital.
You had to send the original artwork
I
to the
sent-
publication.
I sent the original art in, and he used it. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You didn't get paid for it or anything,
No,
but it was
that's
nice.
pretty standard for zines back then. I mean, I had some stuff that similar things happened to, but continue to talk about your work because it's there's a lot going on. You have you have books that you've illustrated. I see you have a cover there and the original artwork to go with that.
Yep. This is what happens to my art sometimes. I don't know if it gets used as cover art.
Yeah.
This is Night to Join magazine. It's a very nice, if you like horror, magazine.
Okay.
And the publisher is really, really nice.
And you're also very much into the gingers too. The redheads. A lot of your
Yes.
characters are redheads. Yeah.
So,
That's very appropriate since we're doing this interview in October.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's,
And you were mentored by a writer, and you started getting published in the late 90s. I
My
looked at your
fiction.
bibliography online, and you have 10 or so novels published, and a lot of poetry, short stories, and we were talking just a while ago about how back then you had to send your manuscripts in
you had to
and
send them in.
send
Yep.
return postage in case you were rejected. And now I know that everything must be,
Everything's online now.
yeah. So did you start with a list of places to get published and then kind of just start to send stuff out?
It was, yeah, because in the early 90s, the internet was just starting. It
Right.
wasn't as sophisticated as it is now, and you could search for markets.
Yeah.
There were people who did the little zine, you were talking about that, the little zine lists of markets. So I got a lot of my
And you targeted horror then? You wrote
horror,
did
dark
you place
fantasy.
short stories first?
Yeah, I started with poetry, actually.
And that would probably be like you probably weren't paid or
No, none of
yeah,
them were paid.
not in the beginning. Yeah.
But it was so cool to have your work published. So, and that's how you learned, as I was telling you,
Right,
because
exactly.
back then, even if you got rejected, a lot of the publishers would take the time to write a note and tell you what you did wrong, how to make your story better. That's something you don't see today.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of input. And you were also talking about how difficult it is to edit your own work, how sometimes you need many eyes to kind of find things that you might have missed.
It's really easy to miss your own mistakes, and then you have an editor look at it, and they also miss things.
Exactly. So you should continue to show your work and
This is
talk
my-
about it.
This is my newest piece. So October is really inspiring me
Right,
this year.
exactly,
And the
yeah.
ravens are appearing again.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed what you do. I know that you had shows that I've put on. You were in shows that I put on, and I keep trying to get you involved with the
I know.
guild, but that's a work in progress.
We will.
So, did you bring more books to show, your different titles? I know that you have an art book there. And you had a book that you had illustrations inside that you wanted to show as well.
Here it is. This is a werewolf story. Lupo Monero is Italian for werewolf,
Right,
and it takes place in a fictional New England town,
okay.
and it's very female oriented. So, but there's some illustrations in it.
So you did the cover,
I did the
and
cover.
you did the illustrations inside.
Yes,
And did your publisher place the illustrations?
yes, she did.
Uh-huh.
There's another one. The illustrations are all black and white. So
Yeah,
was-
yeah.
that was fun to
That's,
It actually takes place in Rhode Island, but it's a fictional city.
yes, I remember you did a little story that had a comic book store in it that was kind of based on a place that
This
we
is
both
it.
know about too.
Yes.
So what else do you have over there? I just want to I want to show as much as we can in the time that we have.
All right.
I would like to see the art book. That one is
This one,
that is all your art, right?
yeah,
Now,
earlier.
remember to show that to the camera.
I don't know. Do you want me
And when was that published?
to? Late last year.
Oh, wow, okay. Now, you have the same publisher that does your novels, does all of the art books too?
No, they're different. This one's Alvin Lake.
Uh-huh.
The illustrated one is Night to Dawn Books, the same woman that does the magazines.
Right.
And Switchblade was from Crossroad Press.
Now, weren't you working with something that had like a demon in the title or something like that? Maybe I was thinking of somebody else. Now, this one would have has illustrations, and are those prose poems?
No, these are just notes to go with the
and
paint.
again, remember
I
to
know,
show
I
it to
keep doing
Michael,
that.
because Michael's the one that gets it out to the world. All right.
I don't
So
know.
we're kind of wrapping it up now. We're down to the final few seconds, and I just wanted to thank you very much for appearing on the show, and I've been looking
you.
forward to having you here.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Hello. Wanted to introduce our next guest, and yet another major inspiration for me. We have Ricky Gagnon here, who's the director of the New Hope Art Gallery and artist. I've been working with him for a number of years on various projects, and he was the reason that I started showing artwork in Rhode Island and kind of started me on my path here. So welcome, Ricky.
And the world thanks you for that. I welcome. Well, thank you.
So you can I guess start out with the New Hope Gallery. And
Okay, New Hope Art Gallery is a nonprofit We originally started at the training school in Cranston. We were there for 5 years, but now we're located at the Cranston Senior Enrichment Center on Cranston Street. And we're just a nonprofit. We're open to all artists to show their work. For me, when I started out as a newcomer, there were people that were established that were really good to me, supported me emotionally to get out and show my work. So that's part of what we try to do now for everyone, to give everybody the opportunity to show their art.
Right, you're very welcoming, and you accept artwork from everybody, and it doesn't matter the skill level. As long as you can hang it on the wall, you can show it there.
And it's appropriate to show in a public building.
Right, exactly, because
Exactly.
the new gallery, and I say
Yeah.
new even though you've been there for 4 years, is a senior center,
It's a
and
senior
you don't
center.
want to cause any distress.
No. No panic or distress, yes.
Right.
So it's been great, and we actually have been able to. When we were at the training school, we were dealing with local artists and then the residents of the training school. Now we are able to involve the seniors. We have seniors taking classes and showing their art.
Right,
Plus,
absolutely.
we show special needs. We're really like a unique space. We are open to every show. We have artists that have been showing for years. We have somebody having their very first show, and then we always have special needs people. They have a daycare center for the seniors living with memory loss.
Right.
We show their work. So it really, and we show it all side by side, and it's really
quite a range
amazing
of material. And also the facility is huge.
It's a big
And
building.
From my experience, you fill every available square inch of it.
Yes.
Because
yeah,
you
we
generally
do.
have around 100 artists.
Yes,
and
about
you
400
show-
pieces of art.
You set up 3 shows a year, every 4 months.
Every 4 months we
And,
do a show. It's a lot of work.
it
I have
is a lot of
3
work.
assistant curators, Barbara Rosenbaum, David Kokel.
Yes.
And we have a new assistant curator, Regina Blunt.
Oh, yes, I work with
Hopefully
her
I'm-
too.
You
She
did with
actually-
her. I love her. She's great. Yeah.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
she
so-
gets very excited, and she's not afraid to get on ladders.
No, that's what we like. That was one of the job requirements.
Exactly.
And get me coffee. She said she would do it. I was like, good, you're hired. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of work, but it's just such a great. We have hundreds of people that come out to our openings. It's really we're the only gallery that deals with everyone and brings everyone together.
Right.
So it's like really great. So.
But you're also an artist yourself, and we want to promote the Ricky Gagnon
Yeah,
show.
it would be nice to promote myself, I guess, too.
You have some early pieces that you wanted to share with us initially.
Yeah, I'm going to show when I actually started working on old pieces of furniture, and I always worked with it was always mixed media. And so this was a very early piece for me. As you can see, it's very colorful. This was obviously themed on the Statue of Liberty and just the thought about my inspirations of everything that goes into my art.
And this is America.
This is America for better or worse.
Yeah.
This is my America anyway. So,
Absolutely.
I actually won the Foundation Award in 2012 from the Pawtucket Arts Collaborative for this piece.
Very nice.
Which is really so. This obviously is one of my favorite pieces. And another of my favorite older pieces is this piece, kind of whimsical. This is my Secret Agent series, and she had 2 crime-fighting dogs. So I have dachshunds.
Is
so.
it a coincidence that you own 2 dachshunds?
I own 2 dachshunds, yes. So that's
they're
where
internet superstars because they're always getting into trouble. Yes.
They're like me, always getting into some sort of mischief. And so that's kind of where I started, but it was all very colorful. Here's another piece. I go through phases. I get crazy thoughts in my head, and I'll do a series. I have a cleaning business, so I created another character, the cleaning lady.
Right.
That I did all these crazy paintings, all kinds of lines.
Is the cleaning lady the dark-haired woman? Or?
That's the dark-haired woman.
And
She's taking a nap in bed instead of cleaning.
Right.
So that's
Yeah,
what,
you don't want any
know.
of your clients to know that you possibly might be picking up
And napping, no,
no,
no, we don't want.
House.
They probably would expect that from me. So that's kind of where it
But
started
it's
from.
such a great use of color. All the complementary colors and everything pops. Oh, there's your Picasso.
And there's my take on Picasso. And so everything I try to do, I won't do something unless I'm inspired by the thought of it, and I can somehow make it my own.
You got to talk a little bit about the snake dachshunds going on.
Yeah,
there.
well, I don't know if it's that type of show or not.
Okay, all right.
Maybe we shouldn't.
All right.
Yeah.
'Cause we know
Well,
where
obviously
Picasso
the piece was a very erotic piece.
we know where Picasso found his ladies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so there was, but I always try to use humor.
Yes.
Too, as well. That's a big thing. Color and humor, and I just always try to come from a different perspective. I don't really want to do what anybody else is doing.
You also said that you were very inspired by the '60s. Now you can say that the colors are there, and there's the Warhol in your face, but Warhol was never very funny.
No, but that I loved that period where everyone was doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Crazy was the watchword.
Yeah, and so when I mean, I'm untrained. I never went to school for it. I just started basically painting for fun, and I kind of like to let everything sort of swim around in my brain for a while, and just whatever comes out comes out. And I painted for about a year until a very good friend of mine, Ruth Dealey, is a very well-known Rhode Island artist, and she just kept bugging me. Come and show me your work. And finally, just to shut her up, I went. And I said, here's some work. Just look at it and leave me alone. And she liked it. So then she said to me, well, what are you going to do about it now? And I said, I don't know. I mean, I work a full-time cleaning business. I don't have time. So she made me commit to an hour a week towards advancing my art career.
Oh, wow.
And then I agreed to that. Then she called me a day later and said, okay, I have your first assignment for you. So then I had to follow through on
Now,
that.
an assignment, what does that mean?
That meant she sent me out she knew somebody that had a gallery.
Oh,
so then she sent me out to start showing.
So did you bring like actual paintings to a gallery?
I brought actual paintings. Well, she told me she knew them really well, and she didn't. So she sent me out there. I was all confident,
She threw you to the wolves.
She threw me to the wolves,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
But she would enjoy that. So if she sees this, she'll laugh. And so I showed up, and they liked the work, and they said, we'd love to show it. That was how I had my first gallery showing. And I showed with them for many years, and then one thing led to another. I began entering juried shows, and that's really why I say again about that was part of the reasoning of starting the gallery was to give other people the opportunity, that I got from people that helped to promote me.
Yeah,
and,
the kids call it paying it forward.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
So,
And so you must have jumped through a lot of hoops to even get the space at the training center.
well, that started because a friend of mine, Lisa Berduti, at the time, she's now retired, but she worked for DCYF, and she called me, and she saw one of my shows at a really nice, it was the Blanche Ames juried show, which they converted the house into this beautiful gallery for this event. She came to it and said, I need to talk to you. She invited me to the training school and said, okay, what can you do with this building? Because it was going to be dedicated. It was a brand new building.
Yeah.
And in 2010, they were having a dedication. So we worked together to create a one-time show for this dedication service. And everybody loved it, so they were like, okay, we need you to do another one. And so what started as a one-time thing ended up turning into 3 times a year.
Right.
And it went from 15 pieces of art to like 200 pieces of
Yeah,
art.
there was a unique space because you took over the gallery where all the security was, I mean, the lobby, and then the
And
offices.
there were cameras and, yes,
Yeah,
and
well,
guards.
everything
and
you'd see
I
in
wasn't
a
allowed to
facility
use
like that.
nails or hammers or anything.
Right.
I don't know how we did it. I really don't have any clue.
Okay.
But again, now they let me use a hammer where I am now, so that's good.
Well, we want to talk about your latest venture. I know you
Okay.
went through a political phase. If you want to show those.
Okay, these are another some more text. I got into a text thing. I was working with text and lettering and stretching them out, and so that's kind of. But again, I'll tend to work in a series. When I'm done saying what I have to say, I put the series away and then I move on to something else.
Right.
So I've sort of worked my way through pretty much everything at this point.
Well, your latest work is the colors are there, but they're a little bit more muted, and we want to talk about. Well, in fact, you have a nice black and white piece there, which
Yeah,
is
I do have a
completely
beautiful-
unusual for you.
Black and white is usually not my thing. And this is, this is all blacks and grays, so I was really very proud of this piece. And this came about, the one thing that I never did was figurative, because
Right.
I felt like I'm not really very good at it, and what else am I gonna, what can I bring different to
Now,
that?
did you start working out and then were inspired by these muscular guys, or?
Well, what happened was I always worked out, but I got a trainer
Right.
3 years ago. And so once I began this sort of regimented training and dieting and getting more involved in meeting all these people that were competing, I realized this is a lot of work.
Yes.
It's dedication, it's work. They spend hours in the gym. They
Yes.
constantly eat healthy. It's
A lifestyle.
It's definitely a lifestyle, but it was certainly inspiring in many ways. And so what happened was I began to work on that series, and because we have a gallery page on Instagram, then I started showing. Meeting different people, and so this guy is my newest piece here. I have 2 paintings of him. This is Hitman Fowler. He's a mixed martial arts and a Canadian bodybuilder who I happen to follow his page.
And quite the tattoo enthusiast.
And he has a couple of tattoos. Great guy, really, really super guy. And so what I do is I'll follow them, and I had already done a few smaller paintings, so I sent him a couple photos and said, I would like to use you as a model. And he was great. That would be wonderful. So I ended up creating 2 full-size pieces of him, same pose. That's the front of him.
Right.
And this piece here is him in the back.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of how it happened. And then, of course, this is my trainer. I have to show him.
Right.
Because I'll have to do extra push-ups if I don't. So
Yes.
that's what I'm working, that's where my focus is right now, and I'll keep working on this until then one day I'll wake up and say, enough of that, and I'll go on to
So you
something
run out
else.
of models, or you go on
Or
to something
interest,
else.
yeah. I have an end to whatever it is I do, and
Right.
then I move on to something else. But for now, I'm doing this.
Very good.
So.
Well, we kind of run out of our time already, and I'm so happy that you were able to come by today. I want to thank you very much.
Good, I'm glad you had me. Thank you. It's great fun.
And that wraps up another episode of Art Matters with Wayne Quackenbush, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
The natives are restless, they vanish in the spear and Jacksons. Their primitive chants are thinly devised as national anthems. These are getting slightly less than British in the towns. Soon it will be time to stop the rot. We got to put our foot down. Drums over London. Drums over London. Drums over London. Drums over
Hi, I'm Lisa Coble from Newport Hospital Volunteer Services. We're always looking for great people to join our volunteer team, so contact us soon and learn about the exciting opportunities for you as a volunteer at Newport Hospital.